like me and Brett both really love. I was going to say Tina Turner's performance. We love Tina Turner's performance as the Queen of Wakanda, and she really carried that movie. But like, that's
Angela
it.
Bassett.
Well, yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everyone knows the
Exactly.
reference I just made. If you don't know the reference I just made, go watch her Tina Turner movie.
You know
Like, let's
what's
be real.
so you know what's so crazy? When you said Tina Turner, I'm like Tina Turner, and I was like Angela Bassett, and I didn't even think for 2 seconds. Oh, Angela Bassett played Tina Turner. That's why you said Tina Turner. I thought you just forgot her name, and you just said
I
Tina
know I
Turner.
forgot her name, but that quick, I was about to just say Tina Turner, like that was her other name.
No,
Like,
that's welcome back, everyone. It's another great day to discuss other people's excellence.
what is that
I am the
fucking?
unforgettable one himself, and Charles is always daydreaming, and we're two guys that like BSing at work. Today, we're about to discuss the demise of superhero movies. Yeah,
What is that voice?
you didn't think I had that in me, did
I
you?
don't know what it was, let alone if it was in you or not. Like, I don't
Right,
know what that is.
the 1950s, like, will Batman survive? Find out next
You
time.
sound like you're doing Bane, no matter what. Like, it's like it has nothing to do.
I mean, yeah, that's the whole point of Bane is like that's a ridiculous voice. Will Batman survive? Will
It's a ridiculous voice, but
will
okay.
Spider-Man make it to work on time? Find out next time.
One second.
Meanwhile, in the lab, what just happened? Did you just take your webcam off? Is that how ashamed of me you are?
I had to take a walk and just that's how bad it was.
Meanwhile, in the Dominion of Doom.
That is a terrible like that's a terrible announcer voice. We've done the gag doing the old timey voices, and you didn't sound anything like a feminine Bane. Like I don't understand why.
Well,
Like
no, because old timey sports gag is different from old timey superhero
it's the
announcer.
same guy.
No, it's not. No,
Okay.
it's definitely not.
What are we talking about today?
The demise of superhero movie. I wish I had. I wish I had like a little dope blog thing where I could just go.
You can do that in post editing. Like you literally have the capabilities.
Anyway, we're going to talk about how both of these studios, both Marvel and DC, just haven't had good years, like at all. And so it's been a lot. So that's what we're going to talk about. And I'll try not to do the voice since Charles doesn't like the voice. It triggers him.
A little bit.
To put it bluntly, 2023 has not been kind to superhero movies. Both Warner Brothers and DC had four major superhero movies come out this year, all of which flopped. Aquaman comes out tonight as we're recording this. You guys won't see this till next week. But Aquaman 2 comes out tonight, and already apparently the reviews are bad, and already is projected to do really bad, which we're not surprised. So yeah, I think it's all four movies for DC has flopped this year. DC fans probably aren't surprised because the last seven DC projects have all been flops. This is probably going to be eight. What's weird?
Well, those last seven, you said four of them were this year, or so that's this would be eight. So that leaves three prior to this, which would be starting or ending around Wonder Woman 84,
84
which
is
is
when
COVID era. I don't think they don't. Do they count the Snyder? They don't count the Snyder cut, which wasn't a flop, because I don't know how you would treat that
no,
as a
we're talking about theatrical releases.
yeah.
Theatrical releases have all been bad.
Well, yeah,
Flash.
because okay, so who wants to go see Blue Beetle? The whole world knew Flash was a clusterfuck. I got to enjoy Flash after the fact, right? Like it was months later. As you guys know, having a baby will make it much harder to go see random superhero movies, especially ones you're not even that excited about. Like we were very excited for Flash for all the Batman reasons. And that's terrible because it's a Flash movie. And honestly, that movie wasn't even that bad, but it should have flopped. everything Ezra Miller did deserves for that movie to flop at the end of the day. Just keep it in a buck.
Well, I mean,
Blue
you're trying
Beetle.
to rationalize it. The point of the matter is their last 7, now 8
No,
movies.
no, I'm not rationalizing it. But to say they're all flops, it's unprecedented because usually a studio doesn't have 7 flops in a row. Most studios won't get like 3 of these numbers, is what I mean. Because you could have movies that don't do as well as you expected. Sure, their tax write-offs, all that stuff. But these historic flops are indicative of the studio, which, beating a dead horse to anyone
Right,
listening.
and that's the point.
But the problem as a fan, because I know I'm the DC fan. I know
Well,
DC.
hold on. We're gonna get into all that.
But I just want to say Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle's the one that really sticks out to me as what was the thought process here? Like, I've been a DC fan my whole life. I'm in my mid-30s. I can't tell you a damn thing about Blue Beetle. So like the idea that after all your clusterfuck, that you're like, you know what people really want? Blue Beetle.
Well, again, we're gonna get into all that. That's it. Easy. Will Charles stay on topic? Find out next time on the Dope Blog.
Here's a random slide. People are wondering why I don't know what the fuck you're talking about half the time. You don't tell me. You guys think I actually know. He gets off on this. This is what he likes to do. You guys don't realize that. He knows I'm right. That's why he's giggling.
No, I said before we'll get into all this. It's easy. I'm trying to get to the at least to the look. It took me 5 minutes to write this. Let me just get through it.
It's not my fault. It took you longer to write it than we're going to talk about
it. What's really the interesting thing is that Marvel projects have started to flop, and that's alarming because there was a time they could do no wrong, and now they're missing way more than they're hitting.
But that's the goodwill is gone. Like they were hitting nonstop because they were hitting nonstop.
That's true. This is called an introductory slide. We don't need to discuss it. We're setting the table for people that don't know what's going on.
Did this motherfucker just say we don't need to discuss what's on the screen of the podcast?
No. What I'm saying is we're gonna get to that in a second. This is just an introductory setting the stage for what we're talking about. Just get this. What cool. For those of y'all that don't know, Charles has had a week, and so he has.
You also don't tell me what's on the next slide. I don't even know if there is a next slide. Is that not true? Why do you keep making the face? Tell the people the truth. Do I know what's coming next?
You don't, but that's what I'm saying. Let me be your host. Let me guide you through. Let me just guide you through. We're gonna get to this together, brother. Besides Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Marvel properties did not do well at the box office, with the Marvels reaching an all-time low for the franchise. Next slide. Is this the end? With all the instability of blockbuster superhero movies and shows, it begs the question, is superhero fatigue a thing? And more importantly, how can studios get fans back into the seats? Now we can discuss
what. Okay. And I'll answer both those questions immediately. Is there superhero fatigue? Yes. Does that mean that fans don't want to see more? No. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. There could be fatigue. There's fatigue of a certain style. And that style is this phase's style. It's like another studio trying to do the MCU, but they got all the rights to the MCU. Now they're doing their best impression of the MCU. The Marvels failed because no one cared. Period. It wasn't because it was all women. It wasn't because of a dislikable main actress. That's all BS. The storytelling up until this point wasn't that good. Because the first Captain Marvel movie I wasn't hyped for, but it got way more success because the storytelling around that movie was better than what this was. How you can get fans back in the seats? Easy. Tell better stories. The reason the MCU worked is because you needed to see these movies to care. You could enjoy every movie by themselves, but to actually have the emotional investment, it really did mean watch 19 movies before you get to Infinity War. And people loved it. Now, as me and Brett have said ad nauseum, and I feel like a broken record, but that's how bad this has been. Shang-Chi. Like, okay, what's happened since? Like, it didn't matter. Like, me and Brett both really love I was going to say Tina Turner's performance. We love Tina Turner's performance as the Queen of Wakanda. And she really carried that movie. But, like, that's it. Well, yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everyone knows the reference I just made. If you don't know the reference I just made, go watch her Tina Turner movie.
You
Like,
know
let's
what's
be real.
so you know what's so crazy? When you said Tina Turner, I'm like Tina Turner, and I was like Angela Bassett, and I didn't even think for 2 seconds. Oh, Angela Bassett played Tina Turner. That's why you said Tina Turner. I thought you just forgot her name, and you just said
I
Tina
know I
Turner.
forgot her name, but that quick, I was about to just say Tina Turner, like that was her other name.
No, that's
but she carried that movie. But who needed to see that movie? Like, if you didn't love Chadwick Boseman, you could miss Black Panther too. It's not like you needed to see Black Panther too. I've killed Brett. Brett's done. Brett's done.
I'm like, why did he say like that's the most random person ever? Tina Turner. You don't know Angela Bassett?
Bro, that movie is classic. Anyway, unlike the movies we're talking about here, but both Angela Bassett performances, A1. That's
A1,
real talk.
yes, yes.
But that's my point. It's like we have to pick and choose. And in a group chat last night, though, I'll lift the veil because this was not part of the show, but it's just indicative of it. Is that in a group chat full of like 10 different dudes, very different men in that chat. All of us like sports, like football and basketball, and all of us like comic book movies. And that's pretty much the only uniting factors of all of us, right? And the fact that I haven't watched Loki season 2, and last night the conversation was more, I'll be honest, well, you would like it, so watch it, which is always good as like a critique of something. Somebody just says, well, you'll like it, just freaking watch it. So, but besides that, it was so damning because I was saying, but do I really need to? And it wasn't like a, you're stupid, of course you do. It was like, well, yeah. And it was like a half confident, like, yeah. I mean, like right now, like it matters. And like I haven't seen any spoilers, so I do plan on watching it. But like the whole conversation was more about like how like, do I need to see anything in the MCU right now? Like the MCU is where Star Wars is at. Like the hardcores are always going to check it out, but how many casuals are walking around talking about Ashoka? Like, let's be real. Like a lot of nerds like it. I haven't watched it yet, but again, it's a timing thing. Like, and that's the point. Like, do I want to watch my boo dressed up like Ashoka, or do I want to watch an MCU property? I feel like everyone knows where I'm leaning based off how I describe the situation. Because Rosario Dawson, I'm sorry, it's been that way since she was a teenager. I just grew up, and so did she. Anyway, like I
Yeah,
really,
I agree
I'm,
with you.
I'm sorry. Before I let you go, the two biggest things about getting the fans in the seats and why this whole phase has fatigue is that you didn't give us what we want. Like everybody wanted the same thing after Endgame. X-Men, Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom. That's it. Make Doctor Doom the big bad. Introduce
Well,
the mutants.
to be fair, they couldn't do it right away because contractually there were still things that they had to
No, that's
make.
my point. They could have made that the next movie. They just wanted to keep pushing them out multiple times a year. Those are two different things. And the best analogy I got, because you're not a wrestling fan, but you know contracts. When WCW closed 20 years ago and Vince McMahon bought his competition, every wrestler under contract had the option to wait out their contract and get paid guaranteed money until their contract was up, whenever that was, 6 months, 6 years, whatever. Or we could buy you out, sign you to a new contract, and get you on TV sooner. So a lot of wrestlers did that. Other wrestlers like, no, I'm about to make 20 million in 2001 over the next 24 months. I'm good. So, and they rush storylines because of that. Why? Because money had to be made in the next 3 months. Instead of making an all-time classic storyline that if I reference it to you, a casual, right now, you'd be like, oh yeah, I remember when that wrestling thing happened. Kind of like Hogan slamming Andre the Giant. You're not a wrestling fan. You've seen that before. You're like, yeah, that's a fucking American reference.
Yeah,
And that's the level of fumble MCU has. Because they could have just waited a couple of years and they could have dropped till like, they still could have did Multiverse of Madness. They still could have did Loki. They still could have did all the better movies. Let's be real. You could have just spaced it out a
oh
lot
yeah,
more than
that
you did.
that was their biggest thing. They wanted to flood Disney Plus. They thought more was better, and they said, "Oh, everybody loves MCU properties, so let's just flood the market with MCU properties." And so the quality went down. That was their biggest problem. They got greedy, and they had four billion-dollar projects in a row, and they said, "Oh my God, this makes money hand over fist. Let's keep making these," not realizing like, yeah, but you're watering down your own product.
Mm-hmm.
And to your point earlier, it's becoming more homework than a fun project, right? To your point about the Marvels, to your point about some of these other things, if you're not watching those Disney Plus series, you don't even understand what's going on in this movie. So why am I going to watch this movie? And I don't want to watch a show that I had no interest in watching in order to enjoy this movie. So guess what? I'm not going to watch the show and I'm not going to watch the movie. That's really what's happening here. Where imagine if you're new to the Dope Log and we say, hey, you need to watch every podcast we've ever did before you watch this one. Some of y'all are going to be like, yeah, no, I'm not
Yeah,
doing that.
I'd
Like,
say yeah, no. I'd be
yeah,
like,
like
no. Like,
love you guys, but I'll find another podcast. You know what I
I don't
mean?
love me that much. I don't. I'm not worth it. I'm not worth that. Like, just so everyone.
Right. So it's one of those things where it's just like all of them? Yeah, all of them. What if I just want to watch the nerd stuff you do? Nope, nope, you gotta watch everything. You gotta watch the basketball ones, you gotta watch the mock drafts, you gotta watch
And it's
everything.
no, and it's more egregious because it'd be one thing, man. And me and Brett are pretty consistent when it comes to even if it's not good. If we could tell you had a vision and you were trying to execute it, we'll respect it. Like we like I don't like the horror movie Skidamarink, right? I think it's trash. It's experimental garbage to me. But I respect the fact that someone saw a vision, executed it, and there's somebody on this planet that loves it. Good for you guys. But with that said, that's not what the MCU did here. The MCU took movie scripts and turned them into 6-episode TV series. That's some cynical greed bullshit. Like that's not a vision. That's a marketing plan. And then it translated like that because it's hard to even defend Shang-Chi at this point because even though it has the best action of this phase, even though it's probably the best superhero movie of this phase, it seems like a really soulless cash grab at the Chinese market.
Right,
Like
especially since it was technically like their first major movie up besides Black Widow, but it was really the first major movie since Endgame, and that was years ago, and nothing has come from it. Like we
nothing, and nothing's come from it, and everybody for the most part liked it. Like it wasn't like it compared to the later movies in the same phase. Shang-Chi is like is the shining beacon of it because the worst reviews of Shang-Chi were it's mid, which in context is just somebody saying meh, like it was cool, but like whatever, you know what I mean? Which is by the end of this phase where the worst thing is I don't care and I don't care, which is worse than not like before people that didn't like the movie would still check it out. They revisit movies they didn't like. Like I rewatched Iron Man 2 and 3 at least once. Like I like 2 a little bit more. I still don't like 3, but even I like what I like in 3. I think that's Robert Downey Jr.'s best acting performance. A lot of stuff in this phase, I can't even say stuff like that. Like Black Panther 2, of course I can. Angela Bassett and the cast, like Suri and all of them, do a great job.
yeah,
That is not a bad acted movie. It's a movie that suffered because you could just tell everybody from the cast and the production was like, yeah, we don't know. Like we don't know what the right way to do this is, the respectful way to do this is. Like,
well,
like
not even that. Like I said when we did our review on it, which again, if you want to, you can go back and watch that. I think it was part of the problem too of it became a Black Panther movie. Oh, but by the way, we got to set up 4 different projects. By the way, how long ago did that movie come out? None of those projects have come out yet. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
and now there's a good 20, 30 minutes of that movie that just doesn't mean
Right.
anything.
It's just stupid. And that's
Which
and
we
that's
said at the time. Which we said at the time.
right. We said if you cut out the 20 minutes of setting up for other projects, this would have been a much better movie. It waters down the movie, and then again, like we said, all a year or so later, there's still no payoff to any of it. The
None of
Thunderbolt,
it. There's still a
Ironheart
fucking
had
god in the middle of the Indian Sea. Like, what's going on with that? Like, look, you
yeah,
know,
like I mean, like Ironheart has not come out yet. The Thunderbolts have not come out yet. What else were they setting up? They were setting up something else.
no, that one
Oh,
was
Secret Invasion did come out, and that was terrible. And even then, it was still kind of weird how Black Panther set that up yet, because we still don't know what's going on with that. So that's
and real quick about Secret Invasion, because that's the one that me and Brett, and we obviously never brought it up on here because we really do try to be positive for the most part, is like I told him I'm not watching that. It doesn't look good at all. And what annoys me is it's a worse version of what Peacekeeper already did well. Like the most annoying part is I don't care if it's an unknown property. You got to make it intriguing. You got to write a good story. I didn't see Blue Beetle. I heard good things about it, but my point was I never cared. You have to make me care. And with Marvel, Secret Invasion is supposed to be the phase. That should be the whole phase. Every movie should be dealing with body snatcher stuff. And they turned it into like a mini series that's so forgettable. People that even like it don't feel like watching it. And we just saw them do it with if Marvel and DC switch off who stole what from who all the time. In this case, I think of Marvel first. So the fact that DC took Peacekeeper and did the Secret Invasion storyline better than Marvel did, the MCU, not just Marvel, the MCU did, because of what? Script rewrites? Because your own creative process is so lacking in heart and soul that you have a bunch of people that are marketers and not writers? Like, that's the only thing I can think of. I don't know who's proud of these projects. Don't get me wrong. If you worked on this project, get your money, get your credits in, build that resume. I don't mean it like that. I mean the people that produced it, the people that really were like, no. We need to have this big, huge alien invasion, and all the scenes are in offices. Like, who the fuck wanted to see She-Hulk?
It looked like a cheap soap opera. It really
did. And then you bring back Daredevil for She-Hulk, and again, the whole narrative, oh, it's because it's She-Hulk. Bullshit. I'm old enough to remember that She-Hulk just was popular in the 90s, like for whatever reason. But the idea that your biggest marketing thing that I saw, again, I didn't watch it, was her twerking with Meg Thee Stallion. Listen, I'm a red-blooded American. I'm never going to say, hey, someone stop Meg Thee Stallion from being in my line of vision. It's never going to come out my mouth. I'm never going to go, this is too much Meg Thee Stallion that I'm seeing. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that doesn't make me want to watch a TV show. You know what I mean? Like there's a difference here. I'm not complaining Meg is twerking next to She-Hulk. Doesn't bother me. But you're trying to sell me on a TV show. Like certain websites, if that was the teaser, people are going to click. But like that's not what people want for Disney Plus. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Like, if the best thing you have of a show is Daredevil and a ridiculous bit of her twerking on Meg Thee Stallion, you're in trouble.
The only thing you have from the show is a more popular version of a TV superhero, and the most popular female rapper at that moment. Yeah. It's aging like milk. And mind you, I'm not a Tory Lanez fan, so it's not like I have some weird hatred for Meg Thee Stallion. I'm just saying it was so in the moment. And mind you, if that was like some Meg Thee Stallion fan pitched that, they said yes and they ran with it, hey man, you know what I mean? Like there's plenty of rappers I would love to work with that everyone else would be like, why the F is this person on this episode? You know what I mean? Like it is what it is, but it's not good. Yeah. It is so not good. So people are fatigued because it's just not good. And this is, oh my God, this is crazy, because the irony of this phase was this guy was the thing people were waiting for. Kang was the thing where, oh yeah, but Jonathan Majors is going to kill it as Kang. Jonathan Majors became a household name during the low point of this whole MCU experiment that we for the most part, all love. And his legal troubles aside, before that verdict came down, and we might have referenced it on another pod, we might have just said it talking to each other. There were already people talking about like, okay, but what if we move on from him and just start Doom?
Well, yeah.
You know, like
Jonathan Majors was found guilty of misdemeanor harassment and assault charges, and Marvel has since fired him from his role in the MCU as Kang the Conqueror. Even besides the legal trouble, like you said, audience has seen a sour on the character, not due to major performances because he killed it, but how the way Marvel has handled their new big bad in the franchise. I think one of the biggest problems with Kang is I think they ruined the number one point of storytelling, which is show me, don't tell me, right? They were doing all this stuff of telling us that Kang is this big bad that we're supposed to fear, and he's even more powerful than Thanos, and this is a universal, multiversal, universal threat. And we never saw it. Like we literally never saw it.
The time we saw it was not the best visual of a bunch of himself cheering himself.
Yeah, and that was straight from the comics, which I get, but we never.
No, but it wasn't presented well. Like you could have started the movie with something from the comics. It doesn't comics. It doesn't mean it's used correctly within
right. And the point is, we just never saw it. talked about beating Thor. He talked about killing Avengers. We never saw him kill Avengers. We talked. He talked a good game, and at the end of the day, they had him lose to Ant-Man, which I understand people in the comic book world are like, well, that's not fair. Ant-Man's a lot stronger than people give him credit for, and blah 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 blah. And it was super enhanced ants, and blah 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 blah. It's still a bad look when the first time we really see this guy fight, he loses to, even on the MCU level, a C-list character.
You know what they should have did, and it would have done everything they wanted to do. They should add one scene to that movie of an alternate universe, like an alternate timeline, right?
Right, where he killed the Avengers, right?
Yeah, and just show it. Like
Right.
just show it.
You
Just the
don't even
opening
have to show
scene.
him fighting it. If you just had a
No, no,
alternate.
no, no. No, that's the catch, right? Because after Endgame, everyone was like, "Oh, they're going to bring back Robert Downey Jr." They should have, but he should have had one line: "I am Iron Man," but it ends with Kang killing him, and then Kang looks at Thor because Thor's still under contract, so you could just have dialogue with him, but like then show what you're showing, like you know what I mean? Like show the actual death. You don't have to show the big CGI battle that we can all make so much cooler in our imagination. That's how imaginations work. But
Well, no, that's my point. If you wanted to, you didn't even have to show a fight or anything. If you just saw him walking off the battlefield with a bunch of dead Avengers on the ground, that alone would have changed how we think about him.
and, no,
But
what you said, right? So he kills Iron Man. He's walking off the battlefield with a bunch of dead Avengers, and then he sits down in what I guess was the promo concept of him on the throne looking at Ant-Man's visor and stuff, like the from the comics. That should have been the opening shot of Ant-Man. That should have just been the opening shot. Like you should have just shot it. Like you should have just, and then he sits on the throne, and you're like, who the fuck? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
no one was mad at Jonathan Majors. It's one of those things. Of course, somebody was
and by the way, when you watch Loki season 2, he's another. It was Loki season 2 was a phenomenal. That's probably the best thing besides Shang-Chi. That's probably the best thing they've done since Endgame. Loki season 2 was phenomenal. Jonathan Majors was amazing in that. He's a great actor.
Oh
He's
yeah, no one's again. No one
he's a
was like, oh
phenomenal
no,
actor.
not this guy.
So to the last point, so do they recast the character? Do they find another big bad? Do they reboot the franchise? What should they do? I personally think, and I don't want to spoil anything because you haven't seen Loki season 2, but without saying anything, they kind of hedged their bet in the way they ended it. They hedged their bet of saying if they want to move on, they can, right? My thing is, I don't know, and maybe they've been planning this for a long time now. I just don't know how feasible it is to do that. I understand Avengers 5 doesn't come out for another 2 years, so you do have time to do it. But to me, I think the easier course of action is just to recast Kang because you kind of put all your eggs in this Kang basket already. And I kind of thought the Kang, me personally, I like what they were doing with Kang, although they didn't do a great job of setting him up as the big bad. I kind of wanted to see that. And for a whole multiverse saga where the biggest complaint is there's no payoff to any of this crap, the fact that they're gonna just go away from Kang and find another big bad, to me, it's just a microcosm of of the issue with the multiverse saga. I think for their own sanity, I think they should just recast Kang, finish what they wanted to do with Kang, just do it better, right? And that way, all this stuff would at least made some type of sense. Because now you have, because if they don't, think about it, if they don't, we're now going to talk about 6 years worth of movies that mean nothing, that mean absolutely nothing. And that is such a brutal way to go out because that's not fair to everybody. That's not fair to the Shang-Chi people. That's not fair to Spider-Man people. That's not fair to all the different projects where it's like, damn, it was all supposed to come to a head with this battle of the Kangs. And now we're not even going to have the battle of the Kangs. Like, I think you owe it to, even though some of those projects were bad, even though the fans have been complaining since day one, I think you owe it to the fans to at least get some type of payout. Because, like we keep saying, I think that's been the biggest issue with this saga. None of this stuff has connected yet. None of this stuff has paid off yet. There's more questions than answers. At some point, you mentioned it before in passing. We still don't know what the hell's going on with the Eternals, the big ass statue in the middle of the ocean, where they ran off to. None of this stuff has accumulated yet. I think they owe it to the fans to end that saga the way they originally envisioned it, and not let one person's legal issues and their bad writing, to be fair, ruin that. Like,
I think it's more bad writing, dude, because there's no vision. Like it's not like the other phases. There's no end game here. Pardon the lack of the pun. That's really what how to say it. Like you're looking forward at phase one. It was the Avengers are getting together. Phase two, the Avengers aren't together. And then phase three, it's like, oh shit, Thanos is coming. Like he's coming. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna be here. And now, oh, if you talk to somebody that just watches the movies, they think Kang is the big bad. I'm being honest. Like you think somebody that casually just watches these movies, like they watched the last couple phases, a movie here, a movie there. I saw Shang-Chi, Black Panther 2, all the ones that are the major Avengers movies that came out, Ant-Man 3, all of it. They view Kang as the guy they gotta see at the next Avengers movie. I don't think that's true.
that's true.
Not because again, not because of Jonathan Major.
That's true because all this stuff has been random, and Kang's only been in one movie, and he was defeated in that one movie.
Yeah, and somebody like me, I like Loki, guys. I want to say, like, I just haven't watched it because I haven't watched it, which is indicative of what we're talking about. But I plan on watching it. I'm saying, like, I have to watch TV shows for the next Avengers movie. That makes no sense. That's terrible writing. That doesn't make any sense. Like I don't buy that the writing was coming to this big grand Kang movie. I know that's what they told us. I understand that's like Brett is not lying. I know Brett is telling me exactly what Marvel has told.
It's supposed to be called Kang Dynasty. Now it's just
I understand
working that. Title. Yeah.
To clarify, I understand all of that. I'm not saying Brett has said anything that's not facts. I'm saying when I say it out loud now, 4 years later, the fuck are you talking about? Like, again, like wrestling. Like, you write the story. If we're looking towards WrestleMania, and we're saying, well, the main event has Kang in it. And I haven't seen Kang on TV since last WrestleMania. What's the story being told?
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And mind you, that was a subtle, because Brett doesn't watch wrestling. That was a subtle dig to Brett's favorite wrestler, The Rock, because he did that. With the Cena matches, he wasn't really on TV for a whole year. But anyway, I just thought I'd make the Rock reference because that's another great comic book movie that Brett loves. The Rock is like top 5 actor all time for him. So, are we going to talk about your favorite Black Adam, or you didn't include a slide because he's your favorite?
No, we're going to talk about that. Trust.
I was hoping you forgot to include Black Adam just for that reason.
Oh no. So yeah, the multiverse. Oh, we kind of talked about this already. Like Jonathan Majors drama aside, the multiverse saga has been a complete disappointment. It was a tall task to come off the incredible run that was the first 3 phases, but phase 4 and 5 has been hit or miss, to put it lightly. And right now, it doesn't look good for phase 6 and the rest of the multiverse saga. We kind of talked about this already. What went wrong? How can they fix it? Does a reboot need to happen? I don't know if a reboot necessarily needs to happen. I just think they need to go back to basics. And again, part of the multiverse saga is we never even got to really see that. Like, we had No Way Home, we had Multiverse of Madness, we had Loki, right? Those are 3 projects. Every other project had everything to do but multiverse. Oh, we had Ant-Man. And even Ant-Man wasn't necessarily about the multiverse. It was about the quantum realm and stopping Kang from getting out of the quantum realm, right? So besides that, this multiversal saga, none of that stuff really had to do with the multiverse. 1. 2, it was all over the place. 3, there's speculation that part of the end game plan, as you point out, was to find out, this all was different multiverses. So one of the theories is the reason why we haven't heard anything about the Eternals since the Eternals, and why is there a big robot coming out of the ocean, is because that's on a different planet. That's on a different timeline, right? That's the theory. But even then, it's
that's the only way to make it make sense. That's not a theory. That's the logical conclusion based off everything else. That's like that annoys me, because that's not a theory. that needs to be what it is, or it doesn't make sense.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? Theories are like us trying to connect the dots. That's us trying to retcon bad writing.
Right. We're retconning it for them. Like, hey, you know what?
Yeah, man. That's like
Just say this. Just say this so we can nod our head and say, "Oh," and move on.
we've
But yeah,
done it before, bro. They did it with the Thor gag when his sister knocks over the gauntlet, but then we learn when Thanos made the gauntlet. So how does he have the gauntlet back in Asgard? Oh, it's a fake. But how do you know to make a fake of something that you just told us in a later movie wasn't made yet?
right. Right. Right.
Little things like that, where I'm not saying the writing's been impeccable, but the overall vision's writing, the storyboarded aspects of it hit. The individual scenes that might contradict some really deep Easter eggs might miss. And that's on the best of Marvel. Now, the multiverse saga is an excuse to have disjointed storytelling and then try to make sense of the good bits later. Like, and it's annoying even more so because we're not even the kids that they're trying to market it towards. We're the generation that came up like, I can see what you're doing. And the idea that the kids that grew up with the MCU 10 15 years younger than us are just going to fall for this bullshit. Like, it's just like, oh well, they love it no matter what. And that's what they found out this year. Like, the idea that 4 years later, one phase after the big three leave, not even, because the Thor movie just sucked. We're asking if does a reboot need to happen. It matters a reboot of what. If a reboot of anything happens, they could just reboot it right after the snap or the second snap. You know what I mean? In Endgame, like, just pick it up right after there, and tell a better story, and then we're all hooked again. You know?
And you know what's funny? Speaking of multiverse, I think that's been another problem too. They're setting up like five different. Once again, we keep saying it. They're setting up five different stories. The one storyline that they probably have paid off or are about to pay off is Young Avengers. They have clearly been setting up Young Avengers, and you didn't see the Marvels, and you're not going to see the Marvels, so I can say it. At the end of the Marvels, one of the cutscenes is they're basically confirmed that they're putting together the Young Avengers. And so that's one of the only storylines that of the five different storylines that they're trying to put together, that's probably the only one that finally is coming to a head. Where the other ones, we still have no idea. Not only has it not come to a head, we still have no idea where they're going with it. I think that's the problem
The
too.
fucking Avengers are, let alone who the Young Avengers are. Like, no one cares. That's the thing. I'm not saying no one cares. Like, no one cares about these characters we don't know. I mean, no one cares about these characters you've done no effort to make us care about. Because introducing a new character, again, sorry to make the wrestling references, but it's true that you try to pass on the rub to the next guy by putting him over before you leave, right? So that younger dude now has all the heat, all the love from the crowd that you have. And as I'm sure you could guess, Brett, sometimes it works. The older guy gets pinned, the new kid's hot, and the hype and momentum keep going. And I'm sure you're thinking in your head, like, oh, there's got to be millions of times where that just crashed and burned because they picked the wrong guy or did the wrong story. Or, yeah, there's a lot more. It's called botches. There's literal. You will get lost just by getting hooked on wrestlers messing up because you're not a fan of it. You're just be watching like, this is a beautiful wreck.
But you know
this whole.
but the funny thing is, like you said, characters. I think people cared about Shang-Chi. You know why? It was a good movie, and you made us care about Shang-Chi. But here's the problem: it's been 3 years, bro. Where's Shang-Chi? So even the guy to the point where even you know how much I love that movie. I think when we did our rankings, I think I put in my top five. Even I was like,
top 5, top 10. You got it high.
Yeah, like even I was like, oh wait a minute, yeah, Shang-Chi, what happened to him? Like I forgot. It's been that long, whereas like I forgot about Shang-Chi, and so it's one of those things where even when they're hitting on some of these movies, it's so far in between, and again, they don't go anywhere. Where it's like we forget about them. It's just it's just all bad. I think they're sitting there just hoping this thing ends quickly so they can move on to what you're saying. I think the next saga is going to be like the mutant saga, where they can just do X-Men, 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 X-Men.
Yeah, but they could have just did that anyway, and literally WandaVision. Because what happened with WandaVision, bro? Everybody was hoping that was the X-Men from the other movie, and this is the beginning of the multiverse, and and you didn't deliver. You made it a dick joke, and then you're surprised people tuned out. I'm being serious. Like again, the wrestling references are coming naturally because that's exactly what happened to wrestling. There was an era of time. Brett's a little bit younger than me, so he doesn't have that much of a memory of this. The Monday Night Wars, two pro wrestling shows, two different ones, were outdrawing Monday Night Football for 80 something weeks. That's not a small amount of time in TV. That over a year you're just beating whatever else is on. So and they lost it. Why? Because they just assumed you dummies would keep paying for it. And it's funny because they really drank the well dry, teasing shit and not delivering. Because I like Multiverse of Madness because I saw it months after the hype had died down. So I just saw it and enjoyed the movie. And I can see why people are mad in retrospect because you did a lot of advertising with a person you had no intention of being Reed Richards past a cameo.
Mm-hmm.
You did a lot of advertising with the mutants again. And mind you, one of the coolest scenes in the MCU is that scene with Professor X. I don't care what anyone says, that's an awesome scene. I'm happy it's in the movie. But you put it in the trailer.
Which is stupid. And Kevin
Yeah,
Feige said,
so they did it to themselves.
To be fair, Kevin Feige said he was pissed off that they did that he didn't know that they were going to do that. But again, that was the point. His power got taken away. He was stretched too thin, and so stupid stuff like that happened without him knowing. Because that how awesome would that have been if we didn't know that was happening?
Yeah, dude. Like that's all I'm saying. Like they made it the trailer, and to make that the trailer tells the casual fan this is the direction we're going to start going in because you don't introduce Professor X and Reed Richards sitting next to each other and then do nothing but tell them, oh, in like 8 years, you lost people. That's there are people older than the age of 18 that favorite superheroes are the X-Men. Period. Wolverine is cool to these people are cooler than Batman, Superman, and the entire group of the Avengers combined. There are people walking this planet that have enjoyed the MCU, but in their head, the Avengers include Spider-Man and Wolverine. This is a reality now. Like, it doesn't matter how many people, how many young kids want to be like, well, Iron Man's in this conversation. Good, make him in the conversation. The reality is, you got a bunch of Gen Xers that are still like Wolverine. Wolverine. Oh, yeah. Cyclops. Oh, yeah. Gambit. Storm. You know what I mean? Like there's a list of X-Men that everybody, like, think about the X-Men as a team. Before the MCU, more people could name X-Men than Avengers.
And that was for licensing issues, but
No, not for licensing. I mean, the people walking on the street before the MCU.
Yeah,
if you ask people to name five Avengers,
but that was the magic of the MCU. They made, I say it all the time, Iron Man was a D-list superhero before the MCU. Even Black Panther, which I'm wearing on my shirt, was a D-list superhero.
No, but Black Panther is, listen, anyone that says Black Panther, like the comic books were bigger than the other wasn't. The movie changed a lot of shit. The movie for the MCU was a paradigm shift in a lot of positive ways for the comic book industry because Iron Man always had fans. Iron Man never went out of business comic book wise. Like the Fantastic Four did. Just to put in context, Brett's not wrong. Like he wasn't mentioned with the greats, but at the same time, Ghostface Killer was putting out 90s albums in the 90s, calling it Iron Man and having those references. One, because he could afford the clearances, but also because that was a household name. It's one of those, there is a gray area here where he was a household name.
But he was still like a C-list Marvel.
He wasn't Batman or Superman. I'll put it like that. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Yeah. He wasn't Spider-Man. He wasn't the X-Men.
Right. Exactly. So anyways, from one clusterfuck to another one, if 2023 was if 2023 was a down year for Marvel, it's been a complete bloodbath for DC. 4 projects, 4 flops, each one worse than the last. The only light at the end of the tunnel is that it's finally over. The DC can finally switch focus to the failed DCEU to James Gunn new DCU. The question is it too late? Did Warner Brothers damage the brand so much that fans won't even give the DCU a chance? And what could they have done differently? I'm hoping it's not too late. I know there's a lot of fans that aren't even giving this a chance. A lot of them are Snyder fans who are still pissed off that Snyder's not going to be able to finish what he started. as I keep saying all the time, well, then maybe y'all should have showed up to the movies more. I don't want to hear your tears.
Listen. I gotta, as the resident Snyder fan out of the two of us, I guess, out of the DC nerd that I am, like I right here is my book is my bookcase, and it has a shit ton of comics. So I'm just saying, like, the hear people be like, oh well, we're not going to go see it because Snyder didn't get his vision. Okay, you're a Snyder fan. You're not like you're such a minority of a minority. You don't matter on national box office. You can't tell me there's enough Snyder only fans that are gonna boycott DC or Warner Brothers to ever make it matter because y'all didn't show up enough to make it to matter. Period. Like what Brett said, that's just math. So if you guys matter so much, the movie would have always mattered because you guys would have showed up. And number two, how is it fatigue is something that's new? Like because people go, oh well, Batman, superheroes, Batman. I'm old enough to know there's always a Batman movie coming out. Like the biggest stretch of no Batman was after Batman and Robin, and for good reason. And then Batman Begins happens, and that's not even a decade, like a whole decade. So like, oh, are people gonna support James Gunn? Yeah, people are gonna support James Gunn. Just make it good. If it doesn't
Yeah.
suck,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's simple. James Gunn, make sure everything's good. Like, make sure every movie is
not great, just good. Just make it entertaining. Like
yeah.
because people show up. Oh, I'm sorry, because how many Peacekeeper fans were there 5 years ago? Like
Peacemaker.
some of the
You
stuff
keep calling him
with DC.
Peacemaker.
What?
Peacemaker, not Peacekeeper.
Oh, that yeah, Peacekeeper is what he's based off of. Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Uh,
But yeah, I look, the DCEU, it was just a cluster. Warner Brothers, and I feel bad because a lot of it was the studio itself just botched a whole bunch of stuff. Some of it,
you don't cut 30 fucking minutes out the first act. Like I don't get that. Like Batman vs Superman, the first act shows, even though the casting's not good. I think everybody agrees the casting's not good. But you cut out the plan showing how Luthor set it up for them to be antagonistic towards each other, indicating he knew exactly who they were for years at this point. To have Clark Kent go to a Wayne building and have actors there that were also just present at the setup of Superman in Africa. Like, it's 15 minutes, but it literally establishes that this one guy is setting all this up, both on a political global stage and on a very small level, because he knows that Bruce Wayne is smart enough to figure out how to kill this thing, so he doesn't have to. Like it's not good casting, but that's a Lex Luthor plan, and you cut it out. Like it's just like it was one of those things where it's like it
yeah,
sounds so
and
like fraudulent.
then you follow that up with overreacting and dumbing down Suicide Squad, the first one, not the second one. Which and then you follow that up by rushing into Justice League, and then you follow that up with Zack Snyder having to leave because of a tragic death in the family and just destroying the movie that he created. It was just bad, 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 bad. And this is why I'm saying it had to die. For all I get, a lot of people love Henry Cavill as Superman. I like Henry Cavill as Superman. I like Ben Affleck as Batman, but it had to die. It had to die. It was just not going anywhere, and people lost trust in it. You know what I mean? Like Marvel at least has the cachet where it's like, hey, listen, if you give us a couple good movies in a row, we'll come right back. But you got to show us that you can put together two good movies in a row. You haven't showed us that in a while. You've been good, bad, good, bad. Let's see two or three good movies in a row. DC hasn't shown the ability to do that yet. And so that had to just be taken away and start anew. And I trust James Gunn is going to do a great job with it. I just hope, and Campia, who we both like, he made a good point. Warner Brothers, the best thing they can do is not overreact, because I'm sure he made a good point. It doesn't matter how good Superman Legacy is, it's probably not going to make that much money just because people are still scared, right? But you got to know that, you got to plan for that, and if the critics love it and the fans love it, be okay with the fact that okay, maybe on the next one we'll get the box office numbers, but we cannot expect the Superman movie to have the box office numbers. That's just unrealistic. People aren't going to just totally blindly trust the brand that you guys created, because you did ruin the brand. Now you need James Gunn to rehabilitate it. You know what I mean? So And to be fair to DC fans, they show up when they think a movie's good. Joker made $1 billion. The Batman made close to $1 billion. I think the Batman 2 will probably make $1 billion. You know what I mean? So if it's a project they trust with an IP they trust, they're gonna show up.
That's what I'm saying. It's the IP. It's not the studio. And like the irony with DC is people don't trust the studio at all, but it's the IP that people are willing to just bet on. And
Right.
with Marvel, it was the studio, and they could ignore the IP.
And
So
that's the
now
problem.
Marvel has ruined that good faith. The irony is DC can't ruin their good faith because their good faith is based off of, well, all the IPs are cool, so I'm just going to go check it out. It's kind of like what A24 has as a, well, A24 is like Marvel because it doesn't matter what the horror movie is. If we see A24 flash before the screen, we're like, well, I'm going to go see this weird fucking film, whatever it's about, because it's
Right.
usually been gold.
Right.
When something like a Blumhouse production, you know what you're going to get, but the IP, if it's a really cool IP, you're like, yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna go see it. It's gonna be 90 minutes, something all right. And if it really takes off, it becomes a franchise.
Yeah.
That's how there are two different studios. There are two IP, just like Blumhouse and A24. Marvel and DC do not operate the same. And the thing that annoys me the most is there are more MCU fans than there are Marvel fans. There are fans that are exclusively MCU fans that count themselves online as Marvel fans that talk shit to DC fans. When I don't believe that there's this large contingent of comic book readers that only read one side. Don't get me to it. Don't get to us. I know there are people that only read one side because that's just their preference and story. They've been doing it for decades. But when it comes to these movies, no. If the trailer looks awesome, everyone's going to go see it. Because say what you will, there's a lot of lost whatever with Warner Brothers. Marvel fans, those MCU fans, not Marvel fans, those MCU fans really needed to remind everybody that there's not going to be more Snyder because that many people like the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Marvel fans were really typing away, trying to make sure that everyone knew, well, if you supported it this much the first time, you'd have everything. And so it's the irony here is DC has enough goodwill, if you want to call it that, that people revisit different edits of bad movies.
Yeah.
Like, think about that. If there was a director's edit of the Marvels right now, dropped, most people would be like, whatever. But if there was a director's edit of Suicide Squad that drops.
Right, I'm about to say they're still trying to get the air cut for the Suicide Squad. So
imagine if there's a different Wonder Woman sequel, like 84 exists, but it's just edited differently. And it's like,
by the way, and
Brett said, all right, we're wrapping this fucking pod up. I said Wonder Woman 84. He went, skip. He went, all right, we're done.
So here's the funny thing. Did you know that we already know our Superman, our new Superman?
Nah.
See, and that's the point. So, as a matter of fact, let me go back.
No. I'm good with that though.
No. Here's what I meant to set this up better. I forgot that this was the next slide.
Yeah, to set up this time. See what happens when you don't tell me what we're doing.
No, but here's and I don't know if I said this on the pod when we discussed the James Gunn DCU, but one of the things that made no sense to me was the timing of it. Because like I'm like, bro, you're $3 billion in debt and you have 4 movies coming out. You do realize that by announcing that those movies don't matter, nobody's going to watch them, right? You know what I mean? Like to me, it didn't make any sense for them to do that. If they wanted to hire James Gunn, they could have done that, do all this stuff behind the scenes. They literally have a thing called DC Fandom, which comes out in October, which would have been perfect because 3 out of 4 movies would have been done already. The only one left would have been Aquaman 2. We know Jason Momoa is coming back, probably as Lobo. They could have announced all this at Fandom.
You know how chill he got? Excuse me. You know how chill he got to be that the studio said, "Want to do this though?" And he's like, "Yeah."
Like, that's what I'm saying. They love him, but the point is, to me, this didn't make sense. It's not like you had the money that you could have lost it. You were $3 billion in debt. You had 4 major moving pictures coming out, all of them with huge budgets. And you basically just told the fans, yeah, like there's no point of watching this. It's not gonna matter, right? So of course they all flopped. And to the point where now, even with the new DCU, and this all came out during the time of the Flash, they just kind of announced it on a Tuesday night. Oh, by the way, we have our Superman and Lois. Like what? And I knew you didn't know because we never discussed it. And I was always thought of doing this pod, so I never brought it up because I was like, I know you and other people don't know. So we have our cast of Superman Legacy, and they just put this shit out. Like this should have been major news, but DC was real.
No, I like that it's not. Is that him?
Really?
Is that the actor? Or is that just a random picture you found?
No, that's the actors.
Okay, making sure because you be trying to trick me sometimes.
No, no.
like, nah, stupid. You fell for my trap, and then you go on to the next slide. Like, so that's them. I mean, that dude looks like Superman. So I'm not even
Oh,
like
he looks like super, but I like the cast. I like the cast a lot. But to me, it was very weird if you're trying to hype up this new thing as your old thing is dying, like merciless, like
No, I don't think they want to hype it up too much. Like because that's what they did last time. And mind you, Henry Cavill is really the best casting of all time. It's hard. Like I think Ben Affleck's the best, but that's like the comic book imagination in me. That's what he's always looked like. Is older Ben Affleck. It's just true for me personally. But with Superman, there's two different versions. There's the really square jawed, chiseled, Broly looking older version, and there's the more slender younger version, which has kind of been the two versions we always got. Either he's been established or he's just started. Those are the two versions, right? Similar to Batman in that regard. Uh, so I like that. I don't if I the thing that I want, and this is just me. This is not what I think is good marketing. This is just what I kind of like. Is that if they when I see the trailer and if they don't show the DC first, and it's just him walking down the street with glasses on, I won't know that's Superman. That's part of it. And like I know DC did the great promo of Henry Cavill standing right under the sign with glasses on and no one recognizing Henry Cavill, which is I call BS. It's New York City. More than one woman stopped and tried to talk to him. I don't buy that. But with this guy, he looks a little bit more normal. Still a handsome ass dude, but still he looks a little bit more normal. So you throw some glasses on him, and you're like, "Oh, what are you doing, kid? Where are you from? Kansas?" He's like, "Yeah, I am." And you're just kind of like, "Are they doing the thing?" And then you realize, "Yeah, my name's Clark Kent." And you're like, "Holy shit, that's supposed to be Superman." And he looks like a regular ass nerdy dude.
I love the casting. I love the cast. What
And she looks like that's why I said, "Is that really them?" Because like
she's in that show, The Marvelous something on Hulu. Like she's one like I have not seen anything that they're in, but from what I'm hearing, people are like standing ovation for these castings. Apparently they're phenomenal in what they are in.
Nathan Fillion is Guy Gardner.
Yeah. I love that casting, honestly. um yeah, she's in that Marvelous Mrs. whatever on Hulu. And that's won a bunch of awards, and it's like one of the best shows out right now. So I love it. I think he looks like Superman. From what I hear, he's a great actor. I've never seen anything that he's been in for, but everybody that
Do you know who Guy Gardner is? I had to look it up because I needed to make sure I
yeah,
wasn't going
Green Lantern.
like an asshole Green Lantern.
Yeah, that's why I love Nathan Fillion as the casting for that.
That's real. Like that. This is like he's actually that character.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's fucking amazing. Because like I want to look at him like, nah, there's no way. There's no way they got it right. There's no way they got it right.
No.
Y'all really saw. I knew I was recording, but y'all really saw my brain just go. No, gotta look that up. There's not. I didn't think it was right because I'm like, no.
No, they didn't do that. Yeah, no, they did. This is James Gunn we're talking about. That's what I'm saying. I'm excited. I think
the bad guy.
huh?
That might be the bad guy.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, Lex Luthor's supposed to be in it, and
yeah, but Lex Luthor is a manipulator,
and
like the Green Ring.
Who's the guy that Pedro Pascal played in Wonder Woman 1984?
I don't remember. Why? Why are you bringing that up again?
No, I'm saying he's also a bad guy in the movie.
I forget. I don't know.
Yeah, they recast him. It's gonna be James Gunn. It's gonna be Sean Gunn, his brother, playing him. But yeah, they're supposed to be the big bad guy, and there's rumors that Brainiac might be in this. Now, so for one thing, a lot of people are like, "Yo, man, there's a lot of characters." But again, he did Guardians of the Galaxy. he knows how to handle a lot of characters. He came out and talked about that already. Like, trust me, these aren't cameos for cameo's sake. They all have a major part to play in the movie. Again, I trust James Gunn.
Suicide Squad, like
Yeah,
literally.
he's done fantastic with it. He loves ensemble movies, obviously. I
No,
trust
yeah,
him.
he likes writing ensemble movies, like the dude that writes all the Glass Onion movie. Like that's what you like doing.
Yeah.
You like Knives Out, you like Glass Onion. That's what you like writing,
Right.
and I'm here for it. But like, I
Right.
can
So
tell you like
I'm
this.
cool with it. Now, it's interesting that you say that, but that's funny. It's interesting that you say that you like the fact that you don't know this. To me, I just think when you again, I'm just looking at it from a business perspective of, bro, you need this to hit. You need people to get excited about this. The fact that this news has been sprinkling in throughout the year, because all this, so like Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, that just came out like a week or two ago.
Yeah, but again, it's the IP. No one cares. If like you know what I mean. Like they could drop no information, and then come Christmas, right? Literally, because it's right around the corner, and say it's the NBA primetime game, and all of a sudden, right before tip off, teaser for the new Superman. They Everyone's talking about it. Or wait till the Super Bowl.
But
And
that's my
one,
point. But that's my point. There was no grand
but
entrance
yeah,
to it.
but they don't need to be yet. I'm saying wait till something's actually filmed to get me hyped. It's okay to do that sometimes.
Okay,
Like
okay,
the
okay.
thing
I
with
like that.
Marvel is we saw again with good writing, we saw where the story was going. So when a million people are like, okay, but who are you casting as this character we know is coming up? That's
That's true.
different.
That's
With
true.
this, it's
That's
like,
true.
dude, I want to be surprised. I want that teaser where I don't know that's Clark Kent, so I don't know that's Superman, and then I don't need every movie to have the '90s. And here's this really famous guy, and the
Well, no,
pause
no.
for.
I'm not talking about the casting. I'm just talking about the fact that it just got dropped on a random Tuesday.
But that's
Because
used to be what it was. The crazy part about like us talking about this right now is 10 years ago even. Me and you would be so much more niche at what we're talking about. The MCU blowing up made all the smallest of news shit we all search for on YouTube and on a daily basis. Literally, me and Brett are independently John Campea fans. Why? Because we found him. I found him when he right before he created AMC Movie Talk, all like 10 years ago. So that's what I'm saying. Like I saw him completely develop from a YouTube space that is saturated now. And so we got used to all this movie news, mostly because, again, Brett, you, like with me wrestling, you're more in tune with just the entertainment. Like you have your own realm of pop culture. You're not like watching TMZ, but you have your own version of TMZ with the stuff you like because that's part of what you like. It's fine. You want to know who's writing the next Pokemon game. You want to know what studio's developing it. Like because I know they developed X, Y, and Z over here, and that kind of sucked. So if these people are connected to this project, that means something else. And you find like I do that with political news. Like there is a market for it, no doubt. I'm saying I hope that stays existing because there's more jobs for everybody. Literally, all I'm saying is for the big IPs, right? These really blockbuster IPs, you don't need it. Like especially with the hype. Like it's like saying, oh man, they're not hyping the NFL draft right now. Nobody cares. Wait for the first commercial, and then everyone's going to be hyped for it, and then we won't shut up about it. You know what I mean?
that's true.
It's a little bit of that. If this was, I don't know, like it's because like again, we're talking about giants here, right? It's not like it's an independent studio that just happened to hit with like Spawn, right? It's not like we're talking about the studio that everything hinges on this success. That's not what we're talking about. They could fail the next 10 times. We're still going to check out the 11th time.
Hopefully,
Like that's a positive.
they thought that with the DCEU, and that didn't happen. So,
Well, that's because they failed. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying they're not going to fail, but the DCEU wasn't Batman and Robin. The DCEU was so bad, but good at the same time. We wanted re-edits. Think about that. That's very specific. That is literally us being like, all right, there's a good movie here. You just sucked at editing it together.
that's a
Like
fact. That's a fact. So why do I still have hope? To be honest, I have to. I think both Marvel and DC could turn around, but do one simple thing: you gotta make good movies. You gotta make good movies. We've seen that people go to movies they still believe in. Like I said, the Batman made a lot of money. Joker made a lot of money. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse made a lot of money. Those are just in the last 2 years specifically, right? If it's a project we believe in, we will still show up. If you try to give us BS and call it caviar, we're not gonna show up. Uh, the issue is both studios have
So
lost
you
credibility.
advertise caviar just in a flash, and the whole movie's just BS. And then you're
Right,
like, "What happened to the caviar? Oh, that was lost in editing. We deleted that scene." That's what they
right,
fuck DC does. They show
right,
scenes that aren't in the movie.
right. The issue with both studios have lost credibility to make us believe that what we're going to see is good. Both have a clean slate right now. They should use it to make sure the next project that come out phenomenal. Once they do that, we'll be back in the theaters better than ever.
But for real, dude, like the best way I can describe it is with horror movies and wrestling, just because it's something different, but it's the same formula. How these studios are thinking, and with Superman or DC in general, right? They came out with a Blair Witch sequel because it was in production under the name The Woods. So everyone thought it was a different comic book horror movie that was coming out, and then surprise, it's actually a Blair Witch sequel 20 years later, and it wasn't met with the best reviews, but people got hype overnight, and like it did decent because of random hype right before it dropped. And that's the Blair Witch Project, a movie that had a sequel all those years ago that was so bad everyone was like thought the first one sucked because it spawned a bunch of ripoffs, exactly like superhero movies. You know what still exists in the 2020s? First person horror movies, found footage horror movies. Want to know why? Because there's a market for it, and there always is going to be a market for it. And the thing here with Marvel and DC, again, I want to stress to everybody is we're literally talking about the big dogs and that have IPs that are associated with our culture as Americans.
Yeah.
Captain America, Spider-Man. The world sees this and thinks America. Like they are Americans. You know what I mean? Like, so these things are always going to do well. Just don't make it suck. That's literally like the bars don't suck. Like I want to. I hope in 2024 we can talk about a Spawn movie. I hope we can talk about a Blade movie. I hope we can talk about more IPs that aren't like, oh no, this is going to be successful no matter what. Because then there's more of a conversation here. But we're literally talking.
We didn't even talk about the Blade drama because
Oh no, that's its own thing. Yeah. I'm not sidetracking everything.
By the way, and I hate to do this on this page because this is supposed to be the positive page, but it came out today. Warner Brothers and Paramount will talk about merging. So it's like with DC, with Warner Brothers, we just can't win. We can't have nice things.
But Paramount has a lot of good IPs too.
Paramount has some good stuff. Honestly, I'm not worried about DC because if they're smart, they're just going to let James Gunn do his thing. Although, who knows, if they merge, they might say, no, we wanted our guys to do it. I'm more worried about like what the hell's going to happen to Cartoon Network. You can't have Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network on the same platform. Like,
that'll be a merger too.
Not that they're going to sell Cartoon Network to somebody. I think that's what would happen.
I think they would try to sell Nickelodeon before they sell Cartoon Network. I think they'll keep the best of both and sell the rest. I think they'll sell. I think it'd be like all right, here's all the good stuff, and we're going to start what Marvel did 30 years ago.
I mean, I could see that.
But we'll see this.
I mean, but then again, how do you sell it? Because if they just took Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and SpongeBob and made them Cartoon Network shows and then sold the rest of Nickelodeon.
Not the rest. I don't mean the rest as in like literally the rest. I mean pick and choose to the point where we're not going to sell it to you forever, but we'll give you the rights to cow and chicken for the next 10 years. Little things like that. Think about how much they would own. I don't see it. They don't see it as a negative. It'd be like, oh man, what are you going to do? They're going to make money, is what they're going to do. Because
or it's going to be the Looney Tunes are now Nickelodeon. I mean, I guess my point is if Paramount's buying Warner Brothers, because that would be the other way around because Warner Brothers is in debt. If Paramount is buying Cartoon Network, basically, you're not going to take the Cartoon Network banner. You're going to keep your Nickelodeon banner.
No, I understand what you mean too, but you're also not going to get rid of Looney Tunes. You know what I mean? Like there's something to the WB. I'm sure they would love to do a little sketch of them walking out the water tower to the slime tower. You know what I mean? Like there's tons of ways that it's not like anyone's going to forget Bugs Bunny.
I mean, listen, if I ran it, I would keep them both, but I don't know if people do.
They probably would keep them both. They'll probably keep two channels because that's what happens anyway. There's the same company owns 18 of the similar channels. BET, MTV, and VH1, back when those channels mattered, were all owned by the same person.
By Viacom, yeah, you're right.
So like, but they again, like, This is the politics side of it. They talk about this. They trial balloon it to us. See our reactions. What are they worried about? Cool, we're going to sell that to them.
Yeah, I know that's weird. I mean,
I want to point out
I get your point of the water tower getting the WB water tower getting slimed would be a cool little graphic, but I don't know. I don't know how that logistically would work. Keeping
the same way MTV and BET have existed forever. Because to the 90s kid, those are similar things. To every other kid, those are different channels with different cartoons. That's why we always have the which one you picking. Just like if DC and Marvel merge, okay, I want to see the Avengers and Justice League fight, but like at the end of the day, like they'll probably keep them separately and treat it like conferences. Every once in a while, here's some fun mashup, but overall, it's separate things.
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, I am the unforgettable one. You can find me at Never Forget Me. That's NEVA underscore number 4 BRETT underscore ME on Instagram and Twitter.
And I'm not insane, and I don't have to rush off the broadcast today. So I'm not the Chuck D on all the socials. We are at the Dope Blog on Instagram, the underscore Dope Blog on Twitter, because we're never going to call it X. And Threads, we're at the Dope Blog and www.thedope.blog that I've not updated in forever, and I'm very sorry about that.
And because you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe.
And
we got this next time as we continue to other people's
real quick, because we did forget. But like the Blade thing, and we have to do a whole thing on this. But the Blade issue is like the biggest problem because like we were hype about that. We were hype about Jon Snow. In the Eternals movie not getting mentioned, the idea that like, oh well, it's going to be its own separate universe. So why didn't you make more shit, you assholes? You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to tell me it's a parallel universe, so it's actually not going to be a multiverse.
Because at the end of the day, they messed up with the writing and all this other stuff, and I'll give them credit. At least they say, "Yo, bro, we cannot put out this shit Blade movie. We got to make a better one." I'll give them credit for that. So I don't know. So join us next time as we continue to discuss other people's
It's just Bane. You're literally doing Bane. You're just doing Bane.
Meanwhile, at the day residence,
you're just doing Bane. It's just a Bane impression. You just choose not to cover your mouth. It's like he's so
super friends. Charles is gonna look up like old Justice League and Justice Society cartoons and send them to me. Like this is what he sounds like. Not what
so you can practice this terrible impression that you just doing Bane. You're just doing Bane. I'm more annoyed because you're doing Bane and trying to tell me it's something else. Okay, you're not doing Bane. Fine.
Remember that scene? Meanwhile, in Desi's playpen.
What about that scene in Meet the Millers?
Oh yeah. There's no drugs here.
That's the same voice, man. Bye. I'm out. Peace.
Deuces.